favorite stretches. Really amazing, saved so many back pains, restriction in the hip. It's called a couch stretch. So I guess you can do it at your couch at home, so it's very easy. Make sure you have some kind of something soft under your knee. You don't want to injure your knee, especially a lot of people that have tight hips, they already have a knee problem. So this is like a nice soft pad, but you can put a towel or anything. Now, the setup is very important, so try to really pay attention here. How am I approaching the whole situation? So I start with being on my knees and hands like this, so it's a quadruped position here. From there, I'm going to anchor my foot. I'm going to anchor my foot on the top of the couch. So I'm going to show you from different angles. So first here, and next I'm bringing the other foot in front, and I'm coming up like this. You have a better view from the side. I just want to show you what it looks from the front. So very quickly, the closer your knee to the couch or any elevated surface will do. Sometimes I do it even on the wall, just anchor my foot on the wall. The closer you're going to have your knee here, the more you're going to stretch the front of your thigh. So if on that test where your leg was straight, on the assessment when your leg was straight, this is going to be very tight. You probably won't be even able to come up. So what happens, let's say if you get to this and you feel like this is just so tight. All you got to do is just move your knee farther away from the couch, and then you will notice immediately you can come up. Because the point of this is coming up all the way here where your knee, hip, and shoulder, and ear, everything is aligned. So make sure you don't come up to the stretch and end up in this position. If that happens, again, move the towel and your knee even farther away from your couch. So this is the setup position for the hip flexors down here. So all you gotta do, again, just trying to relax, focus on breathing, trying to get nice and tall. Try to pay attention what I do with my pelvis. Make sure your pelvis is not like this, creating arch in the back. I'm tilting my pelvis, so imagine this is your belt buckle. Trying to point the belt buckle up is going to feel much more. So you're going to definitely, immediately once you tilt your pelvis like this, you're going to feel more stretch. So that will address the muscles, the hip flexors over here. Now, you remember when I mentioned the deep hip flexors, the one that comes from your lower back? This one's a little more tricky. So for this purpose, you want to step out a little bit more, out there, and a little bit to the side. From there, it's going to be very important that you really tuck that tailbone under. For this one, you might not even necessarily have your leg up here. This doesn't really matter that much. This is more about tilting the pelvis and keeping that belt buckle pointing up to the ceiling as much as you can. From there, we're getting a nice long spine, shifting the body forward, turning a little bit, and making an angle like this. Try to play around with the angles. What you're looking for is a sensation of a stretch coming up from this part of your body. So once you get that, this is the psoas. It's a very big muscle deep in our body, and once you get to stretch it, you will feel it. It will feel like kind of like in the front of the hip, so it's not going to feel down here, it's going to feel more here. Now I'm going to show you very quick from the front. So again, I'm going here and a little bit of out, reaching out for the sky, belt buckle up, reach with my hips forward, turn, and I can feel it right away. It's right about here. You can even play around, turn your body here, turn more. I notice working with different individuals, they feel it a little bit different, so try to play in those angles. Make sure that you're keeping that belt buckle up all the time, so that will get the psoas really stretched. Keep you also glute engaged, so from the side, make sure this is not soft. Lock it in, so squeeze the glute, and that's when you start shifting your weight forward. It's really going to be if you already have a tight hip flexors, that's going to change the whole. As far as the mobilizing and stretching this area here, my favorite stretch is very easy, similar to the assessment where we were doing, where you kind of at the corner of the wall, except this time we will anchor So I'm bringing my hip right under here, making sure my feet are here, and from there I'm just working my leg down and bringing it up. Sometimes you can put something right there just to get the feedback. Make sure that your toes are not turning out. So I like to even kind of glide with my toe along the wall and getting it down. Another thing I would actually focus is keeping your back kind of glued to the floor. So make sure you're not arching here, so you're creating space down here. So most common compensations will be a foot turning out, it looks like that. Of course, the most common actually will be bending the knee, so the knee is like that. So then we're missing the whole purpose. So you really want to lock in the knee. So if that is too much, let's say this is just going to feel too miserable and you feel like the stretch is too intense, just scooch back a little bit, get it here. A lot of people, I even start sometimes even here. That's good as long as the form is right. So your toes are towards the shins and are not turning out, and both knees are nice and straight, no arching in the lower back. So just doing the reps like this, that also will feel probably in your core. So you're going to feel your core is working. So this is really good and simple drill to, and eventually you'll get more and more range. So you're going to get closer and closer. And I'll show you now the more advanced little bit of version of that when that becomes easy. This is my favorite actually for creating more range of motion here. A lot of people just stretch the hamstring, like I was showing you the wall stretch. This is actually addressing the roots of the problem, which a lot of time is also a weak core. So here you're not going to get also a good stretch, but you're also going to feel a lot of burn in your core. So try to pay attention. The idea of this is to make sure your core fires as your leg goes up. So you can do it with the TRX straps. So I will show you different variations of it. I'm pushing down the straps here, bringing my both legs up, and as I push down, I'm driving my leg down and up. Of course, trying to keep my knee as straight as possible. Anything that will engage your core will do. So you can also grab a kettlebell, for example, like this, and just driving your leg down. Sometimes I have two kettlebells holding here in front, the same thing. You can even drive them back so it will look like this, here and down, here. Anything that will work. Of course, sometimes I use the bands. That's also good for the shoulder, packing the shoulders, so I'm putting my shoulders down away from my ears. And same thing, legs up, just driving down and pulling. Driving down, pulling. All that time, make sure you're not arching your back. This is extremely important. So the easy way to see if you're doing it right, if you start feeling back pain while doing that, you most likely start compensating and arching your back. So make sure you glue that, tilt your pelvis like this. That will decrease the space here, or actually make no space. And that's when you're going to drop the legs. So one more I would like to show you. This is very easy. This is actually a bonus stretch here, where we're just pretty much making sure that just anchor the leg on the top. The most common problem with this stretch, I see a lot of people doing this stretch, is the foot on the bottom is turned out, so it looks like this. So make sure your foot is pointing at 12 o'clock. Sometimes I even point it more there, so it goes even this direction. Toes up, nice toe spine. So make sure you're not rounded, so it doesn't look like this. I'm locking everything, squeezing the glute, squeezing everything. Of course, the box height will determine, or the elevated surface, how much you're going to feel it. You might start here if you really tight there, and focus more on the good alignment of your body, tilting the pelvis like this, so not like that, tilting like this. And then you work your way up with the box, all the way here. This is also easy if you're a runner. A lot of runners have a tight hamstring. You can just anchor it on a bench or any kind of elevated surface while you're running and just stretching your hamstrings. One more stretch I would like to show you. This is really important. A lot of times I see people feet turn out. It might come from ankle, but a lot of times it comes from the hip. So it's a very known stretch, kind of like a figure four. There are different ways of doing it. From on the floor, where you kind of create a figure four. You can do it on an elevated surface like this, so I like to actually do it on the box. Again, make sure the back foot doesn't turn out. So my hip and my knee kind of align, so my leg is not all the way out here. So my knee, and from there, I'm just trying to mobilize it, moving my knee forward. There, trying to get close. You can also camp out here a little bit. The more you're going to get forward, the more you're going to feel it. Try to turn, explore the range of motion, turn in and out, play around here. You're going to feel a lot of stretch in the hip joint. Like I said, there are different variations for the figure four from the floor, elevated surface. You can even use the straps where you anchor yourself like this. Just do a figure four position here. The safest ones, I guess, I notice with a lot of people is just anchoring the leg on a surface, or the easiest one probably just, again, laying down on the back and just creating a figure four, pulling my knee towards my chest. I can feel a lot of pull right here, right now, bringing the knee even closer and trying to drive it in. Will cause a really nice stretch in the hip region. Nice, try to relax while you do this, so make sure you don't fight the stretch, just relax. And so that will be addressing the deep hip extensors down in your hip. So that will be the major areas I would like you to focus. Talking about hip, of course there's many more assessments and many more mobilizing techniques. Most of them are more advanced. I like to keep things simple in this channel, so following from now you always see simple solutions, and I guarantee you, doing them the way I just showed you, it will really produce a lot of results. As far as how often, I will leave it absolutely up to you. Of course, common sense will be the more often I do it, the more results I will see. So I don't like to tell people how often do things, because this is your fitness journey, and I will leave it totally up to you. It's very hard to overdo it. Just try to spend as much time as you can. Well, thank you for watching Rampo Coaching. It was Michał, and I will see you again.